To look at the stories making headlines in Nigerian newspapers. And with me in the studio is lawyer and social development advocate Jide Ologun. Jide, good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Great. And we also have via Skype from Enugu, Ambrose Iboke, PR consultant and public affairs analyst. Ambrose, good morning. It's good to see you.
Good morning, Mike.
Very good. All right, let's start from Blueprint newspaper. Blueprint newspaper this morning says Buhari to service chiefs. You still need to do more on security. Orders complete overhaul of apparatus, and NSA links killings to drugs. Food crisis looms over banditry. Senator Gobir is saying this, and Gombe okays 230-hectare land for NAF. That's the Nigerian Air Force operational base. Then that's from Blueprint. Let's go now to News Direct. Buhari blasts service chiefs, says they're best not good enough. Plans re-engineering of nation's security agencies. Okay, that's News Direct. And from there, let's go to Daily Trust. Daily Trust now says news tightens around service chiefs as Buhari moves to overhaul security apparatus. It says Nigerians have lost confidence in system. They should just go. Experts are voicing their comments there, and citizens want action, not speeches. Civil society organizations are saying this. All right. From there, let's go to the Leadership newspaper. Leadership newspaper says, change your tactics. PMB tells security chiefs. That's President Muhammadu Buhari. Orders re-engineering of security apparatus. Illegal aliens in mining sector colluding with bandits, kidnappers. NSA is saying this. A link rising insecurity to drug abuse. Okay, all that on the front page of the Leadership newspaper. Let's go now to the National Economy. National Economy says UBA, 5 others facilitate $1.5 billion financing for NNPC to boost oil production. Okay, that's the National Economy. The last one we're looking at now is the Daily Times that says power sector contracts, what British firm said about Nigerian government officials. Okay, that's the Daily Times. Okay, all right. Let's get into the issue of today. Now, the federal government, through its Ministry of Information and Culture, has raised the fine for hate speech from 500,000 to 5 million naira. Now, Minister of Information Alhaji Lai Mohammed stated this at the official unveiling of the reviewed Broadcasting Code. Acting Director General of the National Broadcasting Commission, Professor Armstrong Idachaba, says that the decision to amend the Nigerian Broadcasting Code was taken to reposition the industry and to make it more responsive to emerging realities. These are some of the things we'll be talking about right now. But I'll be starting, before I come to Jide, I'll be starting with Ambrose here, especially talking about the issues of hate speech. Ambrose, I know you've been following this development. I wonder what you make of raising the fine from 500,000 to 5 million naira, because the idea is to serve as deterrent to people who would like to, or who easily, utter hate speeches.
Well, finally, the federal government, despite the objection of Nigerians, have decided to obstinately toe their own lines and their own belief systems. It is very unfortunate that at this period of post-COVID, in fact, we are still in the COVID era, we are not post-COVID yet, when countries that have empathy, the leaders that have empathy, are actually doling out some palliatives to their citizens. Our own governments, our own leaders are busy trying to hike fines and trying to impose more hardships on the Nigerian citizens. This goes to show the insensitivity of our leaders as we currently have it. Alhaji Lai Mohammed has in the past been very obstinate about this hate speech, all kinds of death, in fact, he threatened death penalty, all kinds of things have been said about hate speeches and the rest. We have more growing national issues. The economy is in doldrums, insecurity is in tatters, security is in tatters, I beg your pardon, insecurity is on the high. They are leaving that out. I'd rather focusing on something that wants to gag the citizens from discussing the issues of government.
Yeah,
Because
but Ambrose, Ambrose, the point there is, yes, Ambrose, on the other hand, the point there is, the Ministry of Information cannot, as much as you said, we have so many issues confronting Nigerians right now, but the Ministry of Information is not empowered to be in the security sphere, is not empowered to watch against corruption except within its own ministry and all of that. Now, in the area that it is given powers to, when it comes to ensuring that through the media or through the medium, that people don't, issue out hate speeches, wouldn't this be a welcome idea to reduce the way that people...
Mike, I don't agree with you that the Ministry of Information has no role to play in this security.
No, I didn't say they don't have a role to play.
Now,
I am saying that when it comes to security, the Ministry of Information is not the one to be in Sambisa Forest, for instance, and all of that.
The Ministry of Information has a lot of role to play. What is the Ministry of Information doing about National Orientation Agency that is a dead agency? What is the Ministry of Information doing about advocacy, of security advocacy and the rest? What is the Ministry of Information doing to secure grants, to secure kind of financing for security reporting and for investigative journalism when it comes to war and insecurity? They have been sleeping on their duties on those. When it comes to the economy, what have they been doing in terms of bringing up jingles, bringing up programs, bringing up things that will make people, more learned in terms of advocacy and education? So when it comes to the issue of fake speech, there are ways to check. We have our codes, we have our what we call the ethics of the profession, we have all these things online. What they have to do is to rejig it. But the fight the Ministry of Information is fighting right now is not about the hate speech. It's about trying to guard the citizens about speaking out against what the government is, maybe the negative things the government is doing.
All right.
This is akin. This is just a rehash of Decree 4 of 1984.
Okay.
Because this is packaged in another way so that we can think it's about hate speech.
Okay.
It's not about the hate speech. There are censorship, even in the social media. There are ways to do censorship about these things. There are ways to block out some of these things and filter them.
All right. We'll come back to this. Now, Ambrose has seen it from that perspective, from the eyes or in the eyes of the law. When it comes to speeches that incite, when it comes to defamation, there are rules or there are laws against all of those already. Is there anything the broadcasting code, as far as the area of hate speech, is there anything new is bringing on board?
Let's take it from the historical perspective. The National Broadcasting Commission came into existence by Decree 38 of 1992, and it became an Act, 55 in 1999 in response to democracy. And we now have it as the National Broadcasting Laws of the Federation of 2004. And it is to regulate broadcasting. And when you position hate speech within that regulation, hate speech is a public expression that can bring harm to someone or a group of people or instigate violence based on sex bias, gender, religion, or other issues. And now, Chief Lai Mohammed has told us that the increase of the fine from 500,000 to 5 million came from the directive of the president towards 2019 election. That was when the issue came up again. So for those who are approaching it from the political angle, it may be perceived as an attempt to gag the people from expressing, because you see, you cannot detach expressions from the environment. The environment we have now is hatred generating, you see. And again, there are issues like Ambrose mentioned brilliantly. There are other ways of handling these issues. Hate speech is a global concern. Now, I bring to reference the statement of the governor of Kaduna State towards 2019 election, that if the foreign observers observed unduly, they will go back in body bags. And we are complaining about violence in the north. You see, right now, the forthcoming elections in Edo, I'm beginning to read that if a group comes off with violence, the other is ready to match with violence. So how do you fine-tune the environment that we even decimate, references of hatred? There is hatred in the land. Many of us have been complaining. Now we are linking the insecurity to drug abuse. Some of us were asking, who were the importers of tramadol into this country? Who were the importers of guns? Who were the importers of military camouflage? So it sounds more like a political issue. But there are other provisions in this code that may reposition the commission for better performance. They're talking about broadcasting. For example, the responsibility to engage the people in the area of awareness and orientation during emergencies like this COVID-19, to prevent undue monopoly and defend local content effectiveness. So there are other provisions, and one important one that will interest you and media practitioners is that advertisers will no longer be backlogs of owing, so that those who create the content can benefit. So by and large, laws are good for the society, but you need to check the motive. So some suspect that this may be towards 2023, for example. And like Ambrose brilliantly mentioned, there are other issues that should engage our attention. But I can also tell you, for politicians, I doubt if 5 million is something that can stop them from making political statements. And characteristically, Nigerian political statements come with hatred, because it's as if the more venom you pump out there, the more you can intimidate your opponent.
And
so we've been practicing this adversarial democracy rather than collaborative democracy. So the government has to work on the business environment, the political environment, the economic environment, social environment, to ensure that hatred is diminished.
Okay. Ambrose, you have said categorically that there are so many other issues, and from what you suspect and what you see, this may not be the right way to go. But it seems the code has come to stay already, the way it is. And as it is, how do you think this can deter anyone, either a media station or even those who are involved directly in hate speeches?
Well, I think it is actually as Jide mentioned, the vial in political campaigning in Nigeria actually started in 2014. Before 2014, we didn't witness all these calling people clueless, calling our presidents clueless, or having all kinds of very unsavory statements in our political lexicon. It was the APC that introduced it in 2014, and it was very vile, bitter languages and the rest. Now they come to power, and when they enjoyed expression of freedom of expression, they want to start gagging up. Talking about other things to be done, I think way forward is this. That section, that review, upward review, should be revisited and revised to 500,000 naira that it was. Secondly, the hate speech and all those things we have to institute an advocacy. The National Orientation Agency, there should be workshops, there should be training and retraining for editors and producers and news directors in media houses. There should be, a national code of language that should be used in our broadcasting code and other things. In that way, we can minimize hate speech. There's censorship. There should be self-censorship by the media houses, because all these things we talk, some of these politicians own some of these broadcast outfits. And when campaigns come, of course, one of the issues of broadcasting is the influence of the owners. One of the issues. So this kind of thing, but if we have these codes that can, abrogate some of these languages that Jida has mentioned, then we can now start having a semblance of sanity in the system. But outside the broadcasting code, more of hate speech happens in the social media, not even because these broadcast stations have a lot of self-censorship going on. There are some languages we cannot use on air, and in live programs, when it is being done, some people are yanked off air by using unsavory statements. So I will give kudos to the broadcast stations for already doing a nice job on the matter. So I don't know where Alhaji Lai Mohammed and his NBC are coming with this kind of codes. Then when it comes to where they should regulate the social media, that is where the problem of hate speech is, and not the broadcast stations. So our attention should be moved to social media. How do we regulate it? How do we work with all the social media giants like Twitter, Facebook, and Red to filter? We have to have some head tags on say, okay, so where should be filtered, so where should be removed, so that we now know how to have sanitize the social media space. When we do that, that is when we actually fight against hate speech. The broadcast stations are not the purveyors of hate speech.
Okay.
And please, our Honorable Minister should be made to revisit this thing and revise it accordingly. It's unacceptable.
All right. Now, Jide, he mentioned social media. Now, even the United States or the first world have not really devised a way of regulating social media yet. I wonder how we are going to be able to do that. Now, the point there is, in some countries, in some African countries, a few of them, they have imposed some level of fines on social media and internet and all of that. But certainly, a lot of people say that's not the way to go.
You know, sometimes the fines may not even help. We have death sentence for armed robbery as far back as the 70s, but we still have armed robbery in Nigeria. What I will advocate is that if people cannot breathe, if people are in pain, like the former governor of Ekiti State, they should be able to express themselves. If you look at Section 39, subsection 1 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it guarantees freedom of expression. You see, but I won't subscribe to hate speech. But you need to visit the foundation. What is causing the hate speech? Is Switzerland dealing with hate speech? Is Australia dealing with hate speech? Are they dealing with hate speech in the UAE? You see, where the environment is friendly. So the government should focus more on proactively delivering on good governance. And you will have less time, less need to be dealing with hate speech, whether online or wherever. Like Ambrose brilliantly mentioned, the broadcasters, we not want to lose money. So there is what we call the internal censorship. And that is why if I say anything here, you quickly tell me, Jide, that's your opinion.
Of course.
So I think right now, the government should go back to Section 14, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution, 1999 as amended, that says that the security and the welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. If you deliver on that primary purpose, you won't have a secondary headache.
A lot of
hate
things,
speech
a lot
and
of
all
things will
these
take care of
distractions.
themselves. All right.
And that is my...
All right. On the other hand, the people have directed attention to the issue of MAMSA, how effective MAMSA was in the early 90s and all of that.
Well, we still have the National Orientation Agency. How effective are they?
Exactly.
So let the government revive all the institutions and engage the people.
Yeah, we have to leave it here now.
All right, let's head straight to the papers now, and I begin with the blueprint. Buhari to service chiefs, you still need to do more on security. Others complete overhaul of apparatus. NSA links killings to drugs. Food crisis looms over banditry. Senator Gumbe okes 230 hectare land for NAF operational base. Then we move now to the front page of the News Direct. Buhari blasts service chiefs, says they are best not good enough. Plans re-engineering of nation's security agencies. We'll be looking at that story shortly. We'll move now to the front page of the Daily Trust. News tightens around service chiefs as Buhari moves to overhaul security apparatus. Says Nigerians have lost confidence in system. They should just go expert. Citizens want action, not speeches, CSOs. All right. We'll move now to the front page of the Leadership newspaper, talking about insecurity as well. Change your tactics, President Muhammadu Buhari tells security chiefs. Others, re-engineering of security apparatus. Illegal aliens in mining sector colluding with bandits, kidnappers, NSA. Links rising insecurity to drug abuse. To the front page of the national economy now, UBA, 5 others facilitate $1.5 billion financing for NNPC to boost oil production. Well, finally, on the front pages of the Daily Times this morning, oil gas sector crisis looms as federal government states relax more COVID-19 restrictions. All right, gentlemen, I'm certain that you would be interested in discussing this topic that is almost on the front page of the newspapers. We're looking at the News Direct now, talking about the president blasting service chiefs. asking them to do more. I'll start with you, Ambrose. You would recall that when the president came into power in 2015, one of the major issues that he wrote on was to tackle issues of insecurity. 5 years on, and the president is saying now that he is not happy and he's blasting the security chiefs, asking them to do more. Let's get your reaction.
It's laughable because...
Really?
Yeah, it is, because you don't ask the security chiefs to buckle up after 5 years. A commander-in-chief knows his generals. The generals that are mounting, the chief of army staff has been due for retirement. We have been saying this for the past 2 years plus, that these people are tired. I remember of this program, we have said it several times, and nothing happened. Nigerians have advocated. How are you asking retired, those who are retired and are enjoying with their grandchildren somewhere in retirement, you're asking them to buckle up? Buckle up with what? They don't have the energy anymore. They don't have the dynamics anymore to engage in this kind of thing. They are retired men, for God's sake. Their mates have retired and gone home. The commander-in-chief and our president should allow the security chiefs to go home and rest. They have served this nation meritoriously.
But Ambrose, if I might interrupt you, Ambrose, you would recall that even the National Assembly, that's the Senate now, actually came up with that statement asking for that the service chief be step aside, and the presidency responded saying that that was their prerogative. Does the body language of the president actually show that he wants to let them go?
Well, you cannot be doing the same thing and expect a different result. So I don't know how the commander-in-chief expects these men to give a different result. So they cannot give more than they have got. Their body language is they are tired. And they should allow them to go, to enjoy with their grandchildren. They are, for God's sake, they are elder statesmen now. Going saying that you want to, they should buckle up. These are statements you have been hearing for the past 3 years. Buckle up, buckle up. Buckle up with what? So the National Assembly, Nigerians have constantly, public have constantly said it. Public affairs analysts like us and advocates have continuously advocated that these men should be allowed to go. Inject new blood, leadership that will inject new ideas and come up with some other kind of dynamics to ensure that this war against Boko Haram have a new verve, have a new impetus, and have a new action to it.
All right, let's bring the conversation to the studio now. Ajide, stemming from what Ambrose is saying, for him it is not about re-engineering or re-strategizing, whichever way the president is putting his statement. He wants them to be let off, that they've lost some sort of creativity to this fight. Is that what it is for you?
I think the call has gone round from that, from the Afenifere, Ohanese, the Northern Elders Forum, National Assembly, and concerned Nigerians. And the commander-in-chief is saying he will not change them. For me, I think it's more of a will. If your house is leaking, repainting it is not the solution. You have to fix it. So maybe the president is not tracking the impact on the country, the negative impact. There's a recent report. We are even talking about Boko Haram, bandits, and kidnappers. And there's a recent report that in 3 years, the Fulani militia terrorists killed about 2,539 persons in 654 attacks. Right now, some concerned Nigerians have gone to the United Nations to file a petition. And I have said it. If the commander-in-chief wants this to stop, it will stop. I will echo myself. I asked a simple question. Whether they are bandits or Boko Haram or ISWAP or whoever, if they bomb a toilet in Aso Villa, they will be out of circulation in 1 month. So it's either, like I said, we have not sat down to look at the impact of what is going on in this country. Do you know that security is the conveyor belt of prosperity? Now, last year, Toyota decided to open their assembly firm in Ghana. Now, Volkswagen is following. And Toyota is even coming with Suzuki. We are talking of job creations. And here we are, we have abject poverty, and again.
So we do not understand how much this is costing us.
So, some of us do. But those who are in charge of this country appear not to be, not to get to be in touch with it. And it's so painful. It's painful. Like Ambrose was asking, how much have we invested into insecurity? In SWOT analysis, you try to develop your strength, not your weakness. How much have we pumped into it? These are service chiefs who should have gone by 2018 or thereabout, and their terms extended. But I still don't agree it's a matter of capacity. But what the commander-in-chief commands, the chief of army staff said they are carrying out the vision of the commander-in-chief of the president. And my question is the vision of my president that people should be dying, that there should be bloodshedding in Nigeria, that there should be poverty? And again, let me say this.
We have to be cautious
here
with our statements.
Out of the chief of army staff is a northerner, the chief of air staff is a northerner, the inspector general of police is a northerner, the chief of naval staff is not. Let's even talk about the domestication of this crime.
Does that change anything?
They should be able to handle it.
Strategy?
They should be able
you
to.
expect that they should understand the situation on the ground.
Strategy is a long-term plan for success. But the success also needs a direction. Nigerians may be shocked that there are other plans being perfected. Because if you are not stopping crime, you are nurturing crime. How many communities have these criminals gone into? We were talking about the northeastern part of the country. It has gone to northwestern part, north central, coming to middle belt. Now southerners are complaining. I said it. Was it within the strategy of fighting insecurity that we allowed foreigners to come into this country? That some people started importing drugs into this country, importing ammunition, importing military camouflage. I think we are growing crime. I hope it is not intentional. And I'm addressing major stakeholders now. We need to rise up to this occasion. So whether the commander-in-chief decides to change the chief of staff or whoever they are.
The
service chiefs. History is recording everything happening under this regime. I am not happy about it. Because my expectations were high in 2015.
Now, all right, let's get back to Ambrose Igboke, because you mentioned something that has to do with drugs, and the NSA actually talked about linking, or rather, the issues of insecurity in the country to drug abuse. I wonder how you evaluate that statement made by the NSA. Ambrose.
As a Nigerian, I feel so sad, humiliated and ashamed that my national security advisor is talking like this. They are leaving the core issues and sorting out peripheral issues. Why are drugs in Nigeria in the first place? What is the NDLEA doing? What is the customs doing? Who is in charge? What is the police doing? Then he's giving excuses. The failure of insecurity in this country is the failure of the...
Ambrose just trying to make a point, but then I'll bring back the question to you before we can link back to Ambrose, talking about the NSA statement linking the level of insecurity to drug abuse.
Without holding brief for Ambrose, I think he was trying to say that the failure in a plane crash is the failure of the pilot, even though you have the air hostess and air hostesses. So, and here we are. We have a commander-in-chief of the armed forces. If he's comfortable with the result,
quickly, just hold the thought. We have Ambrose back on the line. All right, Ambrose, go ahead with your line of thoughts.
I'm saying that the failure, the National Security Advisor is dodging the question of his own failure of the security architecture to address the problem. Drug has always been there. Drug is a civil matter. It should be something, and some part of it is a criminal matter that can be investigated by the Nigerian police and the rest. This is not the major cause of insecurity. The major cause of insecurity in Nigeria is just like what Jide has said, that the security architecture seems to have, those running the security architecture seems to look the other way where some certain things are happening. For example, I know that the Nigerian military has the capacity to decimate, be it bandits, be it Boko Haram, be it the insurgents, under 1 week. They have the capacity, both the manpower, both the intellectual capacity, and both the military might. Why it's not happening is because of the political will to do so. Then when we now come to the issue of insecurity in all those places, it is because of the failure of this will to implement the security strategies that will wipe out these dissidents that is causing it. It is not drug. And because of these kind of statements to buy time, they are making this kind of statement to buy time, to fool us, and to make all kind of outlandish claims.
But Ambrose, if you have to put it in clear terms, Ambrose, I have to interrupt your line of thought. If we have to put it in clear terms, what this political will is, I mean, the lives of Nigerians are at stake here, and the security of lives and property is a major responsibility of government.
During the Jonathan regime, the chief of army staff then, General Ihe Jerika, went in there and did some military operations that nearly wiped out the insurgent. What happened? Some Nigerians wrote even to the United Nations and said there was genocide being committed there because they were fighting bandits. So the political will is that people are playing politics with the life of Nigerians. And until we dig out that matter and see why it is not happening, the other time, some militias were roaming villages and killing people, and we're told they were from Maghreb region, from Libya and the rest people. I said, so the federal government know them and know where they are coming from, and yet nothing has been done. So somebody came up to say, oh, these militias move at night, that is why they don't see them. All kinds of infantile arguments, not just like the National Security Advisor has said, that because of drugs. So who says that on a national TV and a National Security Advisor of what country?
All right, Ambrose, let's quickly, we are running out of time. Your final thoughts on this issue, Jide.
Security is the conveyor belt of prosperity. If this government is interested in turning us away from poverty towards prosperity and be recorded on the golden side of history, please arise and deal with these criminals. You can do it if you choose to do it. Where there is a will, there is a way. But I'm surprised that the governor of Katsina State complained recently that there were just about 30 police to manage about 100 villages. You see, so if in the state of my president, people are running helter-skelter, there's almost a total breakdown of security, then what should we expect? But this is quite worrisome. But like I said, where there is a will, there is a way.
Absolutely.
We want security in the land. It's the primary purpose of government constitutionally. And God will help this country.
Amen. Thank you, Jide Ologun, for your time. Ambrose Igboke, we must thank you for your time on the newspaper review as well. Thank you so much, gentlemen.